We are presenting a guide for identifying how to include the gender plus perspective in VOPEs, with the aim of improving our institutional capacities and thus help to produce evaluations that are more sensitive to the multiple inequalities. In this task, various organizations are part of 2 evaluations networks that have participated. The European Evaluation Society, EES, Gender and Evaluation Thematic Working Group. This group was formed at the 10th Biannual Conference of the European Evaluation Society in Helsinki in 2012, with participants from the Europe as well as the Americas, Africa and Asia. Its activity is linked to the promotion of capacities and exchange of information on evaluation and gender. Other participating organization is the Evaluation, Gender and Human Rights Working Group of the Latin American and Caribbean Evaluation Network, ReLAC, formed during the 3rd ReLAC conference in Costa Rica in 2010, and which is one of the network's largest working groups, working in depth in discussion, presence and exchange of knowledge and experiences in these areas. The preparation of this guide has been supported by Evalparners, which was first conceived at the Thailand conference in December 2013, and which currently is a global network of multiple actors working in the field of evaluation, and also by the International Organization for Cooperation in Evaluation. What we wish to contribute with this guide is an inward look within our organizations, observing our structure and practices, and based on that to review whether or not we are applying the gender plus perspective in our evaluations to improve our recommendations on the public and private programs we evaluate. And in second place, to strengthen our own capacities to have organizations that are more sensitive to this perspective. We intend to do this by identifying the most important dimensions and asking ourselves how we're doing according to these criteria and what activities, action, tasks, and initiatives we can propose to achieve a higher standard in the inclusion of gender plus approach. What does gender plus mean? Gender inequalities persist in practically all aspects of life. Although in different ways and with different degrees of intensity, we could affirm that there's a universal inequality that makes women less present in the different spheres of power, earn lower salaries than men, and be more prone to poverty and social exclusion, and suffer structural and specific violence for the mere fact of being women. We therefore find ourselves faced with a systematic and structural inequality. As there are other axes of inequality that also operate systematically and structurally, both men and women can be discriminated differently, depending on their context and the social class to which they belong, their ethnic or religious origin, their age, their sexual orientation, their functional capacity, etc. This interaction of inequality patterns functioning simultaneously is what has been called intersectionality and translates into what we currently are calling gender plus. By Gender Plus, we mean that our view of gender is open and includes the analysis of all the inequalities and their interactions with the gender dimension. Why do we approach the analysis of inequality through gender? The theoretical reflection on intersectionality has come from the feminist studies questioning of gender and woman as a homogeneous category, and of the depending of the analysis of inequalities. And also because gender inequality is probably the most universal type. 51% of the population is women, and is the axis with the greatest probabilities of being present in each and every one of the possible interactions among different inequalities. In 2014, we had the opportunity to discuss these themes at 2 meetings of the groups and their networks. One was a workshop implemented with Latin American evaluators during the International Meeting on Evaluation and Public Policy, an approach based on gender, equality and human rights, in Cali, Colombia. And the other was a workshop at the biennial conference of the European Evaluation Society in Dublin, where professionals evaluators from different parts of the world participated. At both events, it was evident that although we begin with gender discrimination, we also need to analyze all the inequities and inequalities considering people's situations and all their complexity. Below, we present an example of a situation that we had identified in Latin America, where there is an inequality of gender, ethnicity, and age discrimination.
Que fue bastante común y me parece que puede ser bastante conocido cuando las mujeres accedieron a ser concejalas de los gobiernos municipales de Bolivia en municipios rurales. Este es el caso específico. Eran 7 concejales y concejalas, 3 mujeres y 2 varones. El varón era el presidente del consejo y tenían que nombrar a todas las demás en alguna comisión. Bueno, a la única hermana que era de pollera, decimos de indígena, pues con su traje, no de pollera, trenzas, etcétera, que además era un poquito mayor, y allí ustedes saben muy bien que las mujeres indígenas mayores a veces no leen y escriben, no tienen ese nivel de manejo. Pues a esta señora específicamente la nombraron secretaria de actas del Consejo Municipal, ¿no? Como una forma de ponerla y que mañana decida irse. Pues la señora que hizo, traía a todas las sesiones a su hijo, que sabía leer y escribir, y lo sentaba y tomaba las actas y ella presentaba Entonces fue un acto de discriminación, pero de la señora de mucha dignidad y de responder a un proceso donde a ella, sin saber leer y escribir, pero era representante de su organización y de su pueblo, estaba ahí sentada para hacer.
The life of associations can be explored by addressing different dimensions. The exercise proposed in this instrument is for the members of a given associations to investigate their own work with questions organized in 5 areas, using them to identify their strength and weakness, and from there to undertake a self-assessment, debate and shared vision of what changes are worth initiating. Here are dimensions and set of questions to be worked by the association. You can further deepen with the full list available in the guide. The ways we are organized lie at the base of the results we can achieve as associations. In fact, the way we organize as a group and the internal procedures we develop can open up or close off opportunities for incorporating different approaches or highlighting situations that are part of the kind of discrimination found in our societies. We often tend to view these factors as part of the social reality and fairly outside our area on action and act blindly in terms of how they also affect our task. In this dimension, it is useful to ask ourselves about our internal spaces and be able to see both the eventual discrimination mechanism that are produced internally and the possibilities for expanding the diversity of capacities and the inclusion and vision that enrich our actions. In this regard, we propose a set of questions concerning the association's membership, vision and mission, its status or internal regulations, and its decision-making structure. The aim of these questions is to generate self-reflection, debate and share a vision of how these questions are addressed in our organizations, as well as the relative importance they have or we want to assign them in our organizations. For example, what is the composition of the organization's leader by sex, age, profession, and cultural origin? Are there imbalance? Does the organization provide financial resources for gender plus responsive activities? VOPEs are voluntary entities that seek to strengthen the capacities of their members in areas like collectivity, advocacy, and issues affecting them. In this section, we present questions and suggestions regarding the associate's capacities. Indeed, one valid motivation for becoming member of an association is to enhance personal capacities for carrying out evaluations at an individual level, sharing knowledge, accessing information on labor and professional development opportunities, and establishing opportunity for collective reflection or learning communities to place one's own experiences in a broader perspective. In this framework, it is useful to note whether the association has included the gender plus approach in this dimension, which is so important for its members. In the following section, we propose a set of questions regarding the working groups, the circulation of information, and the exchange of experiences and knowledge. For example, does the association organize, disseminate, and promote its members' expertise in the gender plus approach with other organizations with which it works? Expertise in the field of evaluation is a recent development associated with the growing interest and incorporation in the cycle of forming of public and development policies carried out by governments and international and civil society organizations. It can be provided by professionals from diverse disciplines and has acquired increasing importance for the transformation of inequalities as it permits social and institutional learning and equality. The increased demands for evaluation has also led to a demand for quality and rigor in their implementation, as well as the capacity to account for the results given in the complexity of diversity of our societies. With respect to professionalization, below we offer a set of questions regarding evaluation, training and the capacity development, decent labor conditions and processes of professionalization, deciding, and accreditation. For example, does the association promote the training of its member in matters related to gender plus approach? As indicated previously, an important element of the associations is the effort to generate transformations in their context with respect to the problems concerning them. In this context, it is important to consider whether the bid of equality and respect for the rights of all people are established in the gender plus approach constitutes part of the association's agendas for indecencies, and whether it also materialized in the messages they emit and they project or promote or facilitate. In this regard, the following set of questions related to communication, public activities, and strategic agenda is proposed. It would be useful for the association to look into the communication practices, public activities, and strategic agenda. For example, does the association inform about the results of evaluations carried out by its members where a gender plus approach has been applied? In this dimension, the idea is to inquire transversality as to whether gender plus diagnosis, analysis, and reflection are present in all their association's activities. The idea is to determine the sensitivity and capacity to incorporate gender plus analysis systematically in each of the VOPEs activities. It is important to learn, for example, whether the VOPE systematically collect information coming from sex, gender, and by all the characteristics that are pertinent to its activities, and whether it is analyzing the structure of the participation of women and men, and their intersection with the other groups or categories that have been considered pertinent. For example, for a conference, do you analyze by sex or other categories those who present proposal for presentations, percentages of relative acceptance from each category proposed to the membership structure, and who assumes leadership positions in the conference as keynote speakers, group coordinators, rep, porters. This guide is intended to be an invitation to continue learning and continue innovating for a substantive transformation that allows us to contribute every day to societies where the dignity of all women and men inhabitant is respected. If you want to access the directory or more information, please send an email or either investigating or download it from the website of the assessment panel. Many thanks.